Welcome to Lore and Logos, where we dive deeply and think carefully. I am your host, Chanoch Dodge, and this is my co-host, Kevin Dodge.
Welcome, everyone. The intriguing topic that we get to continue diving into today is Harry Potter.
As we discussed and looked at last time, the Harry Potter series that Joanne Kathleen Rowling wrote is quite interesting. Today, we will be looking at the last three books, Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. We plan to discuss some of the themes woven throughout the plot and also look at some of the arguments about whether or not they should be read.
There are quite a lot of people that are vehemently opposed to the books because of the witchcraft themes throughout them.
But on the flip side, there are people who claim that the books are wonderful and filled with Christian themes of the power of love.
There is a lot to talk about today, so let's get started with a brief summary of the last three Harry Potter books. Let's start with the Order of the Phoenix. So it starts off with the summer. In the summer, Harry gets attacked by a Dementor, him and Dudley, and the Ministry denies Voldemort's return.
If you remember from last time, in the fourth book, the one about the Triwizard Tournament, the end of that book is Harry seeing Voldemort pretty much and his rise to power. So he, Dumbledore, and a select few who are then called the Order of the Phoenix believe Harry, and Dumbledore, the headmaster of Hogwarts, also believes Harry. And there's only the select few that believe him. The rest of the wizarding community
Don't believe him.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, that just can't be. And it's partially because they're blinded by the fear that they just don't want it to be true.
Yeah, so at Hogwarts, Umbridge takes control of it and suppresses real defense training.
Yeah, she takes over the defense against the dark arts and doesn't really teach them anything really at a time that is crucial for them to be learning how to defend themselves against Voldemort's. Because Voldemort is going to be using these dark arts and these dark magics, and it's the perfect time. Well, I mean, if there's a perfect time for anything, learning witchcraft, but that they were there to learn how to defend themselves against that sort of thing, and they weren't being taught.
Yeah, Umbridge didn't really want them to. Also, another reason why Umbridge didn't want them to learn defense against the dark arts was because she didn't want them, fighting against the Ministry for Dumbledore, so Dumbledore could become the Minister of Magic.
Yeah, everyone, the current Minister of Magic and others were like, Dumbledore's, the power has gone to his head. He wants to be the Minister of Magic.
But really, I think he was offered the position a few times.
Yeah, he was offered the position several times, and each time he was like, nope, I'm fine with just being the headmaster of Hogwarts. I don't really want a position of power like that. And so the ministry at this point goes all haywire because Dumbledore's like, we need to do something, Voldemort's back, and they're like, uh-oh, he's imposing on our authority here. So yeah. Umbridge, she really is working for the Ministry of Magic, and so she's enforcing their rules. She refuses to allow Harry to tell people that Voldemort is back, and when he says so in class, she puts him in detention and makes him write with this pen, I will not tell lies. And this pen, as he's writing,
uses blood for ink.
It sucks the blood out of his hand, and then afterward, he has this scar on the back of his hand that says, I will not tell lies, because as he's writing, the nib of the feather, even though it's on the page, is actually cutting into the flesh of the back of his hand.
Yeah, so Harry forms Dumbledore's army, the name that they made up, which is basically a defense against the dark arts class that Harry is teaching.
Encouraged by Ron and Hermione, Harry starts teaching this defense against dark arts class because he had more training in this than pretty much anyone else at the school. They have people from all the four different houses come and
except Slytherin, I think.
Yeah, I don't think there was anyone from the Slytherin, actually. Yeah, you're right. They're doing that behind her back. She did not want them to be learning other things outside of her classroom. She wanted to be able to monitor everyone's learning at Hogwarts. She didn't want them to be learning anything more than what the state-approved curriculum, I guess, was. she needed them to be learning only something specifically. And she insisted through all this. She didn't even want them to be learning how to defend themselves because, as she put it, Voldemort is not a threat.
So Harry has visions of Voldemort at work. Yeah, so some of the
feels the emotions, yeah.
Yeah, so some of the visions were like Ron's dad, Harry's best friend, getting punctured by a snake, punctured by snake teeth. I think it was
Nagini.
Yeah.
Voldemort's own snake, because Nagini was on a mission, probably even controlled somewhat by Voldemort's spirit within her, because, as we will list later on, Nagini is actually one of the Horcruxes, which, once again, we will get into that in a little bit.
He's having other visions too, like Voldemort. He's saying like Voldemort torturing people, but he's actually like feeling the emotions. Like one time, like after a vision, he's looked at Dumbledore and had the emotion of Voldemort like against Dumbledore. And so that's why, like, as we'll see later on, as like Dumbledore said later on, he didn't want to be like talking really much to Harry and doing stuff too much with Harry because of Voldemort.
Because it was also going the other way sometimes than when Voldemort, or at least we assume that then Voldemort could sometimes, I guess, see through Harry, and that's why he felt that that immense hatred just like build up into him within that instant just looking at Dumbledore.
Dumbledore leaves Hogwarts because escapes Hogwarts because the Ministry of Magic were trying to take him to Azkaban, the wizarding prison, and it was because he took the blame of Dumbledore's army, or
really the Defense Against Dark Arts. It wasn't actually Dumbledore's army. That's just what they called it.
Yeah.
It wasn't actually an army used that Dumbledore was creating to overthrow the Ministry of Magic, which is what the Ministry of Magic feared. So they were like, we're the DA, the Defense Against Dark Arts. But then someone came up with the clever idea to actually...
DA stands for Dumbledore's army.
Because, it was just something the Ministry feared.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because those in the Defense Against Dark Arts class were there because they believed that Voldemort was out there and had returned. So then when Umbridge eventually found out about these secret gatherings that were pretty much outlawed at this point from Umbridge, that like, no excess gatherings of students, you can't learn from other places. So when Umbridge finds out about this and brings the matter up with Dumbledore, instead of letting Harry take the blame and being expelled, Dumbledore takes the blame and leaves Hogwarts after kind of making an escape. He escapes after blasting a couple of people.
Yeah, including one of his, including one of the Order of the Phoenix.
Sure, but he had to keep up appearances,
After that, Harry believes Sirius, his godfather, is in danger because of the visions. Mm-hmm. But actually, you'll learn that Voldemort actually implanted that image of Sirius getting tortured by Voldemort, and Voldemort saying he's going to kill him after he gets the information. So Harry, of course, wants to save him and goes to the Ministry alongside some of the DA.
Yeah, he takes some of his friends along with him.
Yeah, from the Defense Against the Dark Arts class.
That class helped them to get to know each other a little more, kind of develop some more bonds.
Yeah, so they get to the Ministry, and Harry doesn't find Sirius, but finds a prophecy, like an orb, like a prophecy that has his name on it. And then, like, before he can find out about it, like, the prophecy room's ambushed by Death Eaters. And Harry finds out by the Death Eaters that, like, that prophecy is about him and Voldemort. The prophecy, like, that Harry was the chosen one who was meant to kill Voldemort.
Yeah, so Voldemort thinks, okay, so there's this prophecy about Harry. Somehow when I tried to kill Harry last time, it didn't end so well for me. So Voldemort wants to know what the prophecy says so that he can then protect himself against
Harry, basically.
Exactly. So that if he tries to kill Harry next time, it would go through. But I guess with the prophecies and stuff, only the person that they're made about can touch the orbs that contain the prophecy. So Voldemort lured Harry into the Ministry of Magic to then take the orb off the shelf. And then I guess after that point, the Death Eaters could probably bring it to Voldemort.
Fighting breaks out. Then soon, like when all hope is lost, when Harry's about to give the prophecy to one of the, I think, Lucius Malfoy, the lead Death Eater, the Order arrives, the Order of the Phoenix. So I think like Sirius, Tonks, Mad-Eye Moody, a bunch of others arrived, and fighting broke out.
Now there are these two sides of full-grown wizards just fighting each other.
Yeah.
Angry at each other, want the other side dead, so they're fighting pretty hard.
So in that action, Harry, trying to help his friend Neville, I think, smashes his prophecy.
Yeah, pretty much.
And that was a big disappointment to Voldemort.
Yeah, because he wanted to hear about that, and I'm sure his followers were not happy that they disobeyed and weren't able to retrieve it.
Especially Lucius Malfoy.
Yeah, and Bellatrix Lestrange.
After everything seems to,
slow down a little.
Slow down, and even Dumbledore came, I think all the Death Eaters were taken care of except for one Death Eater. Bellatrix, who was fighting Sirius, and then Sirius gets hit by, I think, a curse of some sort by Bellatrix and falls in this veil type of thing.
Yeah, pushes him through this archway at the center of the room that it seems like they would just come right through to the other side, but unfortunately Sirius
died.
Went through whatever it was and he didn't come back.
Yeah, Harry, angry at Bellatrix, started pursuing Bellatrix. She started running away towards where Voldemort was.
Because he just entered and he was like, okay, I know something's not going right with this mission. So he comes, Dumbledore is there, and Harry's like, Dumbledore is the only one Voldemort ever feared. So this is, maybe Dumbledore can
fight him or something. Dumbledore and Voldemort start fighting, and basically Dumbledore seems to have the upper hand. Then Voldemort dissipates, which is vanishes, and then
he disapparates,
and then goes into a different reappears in another place. But he possessed Harry, yeah, and Harry had intense pain and stuff.
Both of them did,
but so Voldemort left.
And because Voldemort couldn't possess his body, and once again it was because of that love that his mother had for him that was in him that Voldemort couldn't endure.
Yeah, so after that, the Ministry of Magic realizes that Voldemort indeed is alive.
Because they show up at their workplace and are like, what's going on? We've got a duel going on between Dumbledore, who we just sentenced to prison for claiming that Voldemort is back and training people that for his imminent return. And now we have Voldemort standing right here in front of us. Of course, Voldemort escapes, but now the Ministry of Magic can't deny that Voldemort is back. That is pretty much where the book ends. Harry is heartbroken over Sirius's death.
And Dumbledore they talk about the prophecy, and since I think one of the teachers, the divination teacher, actually told.
She was the one that actually told
Dumbledore
the original prophecy.
Yeah, so ends basically with everyone knows that Voldemort has returned and is at large. In The Half-Blood Prince, the next book that we're going to be talking about, Harry learned the secrets of how to defeat Voldemort by Dumbledore. So yeah, in the first start of the book, Voldemort's forces grow, and Draco is, as shown in the first segment of the book, is given a secret mission.
Like we mentioned in the first episode, Draco Malfoy is pretty much Harry Potter's arch enemy. He is the main one at school that opposes Harry Potter.
Hates him.
Exactly. He's Snape's pet.
Best student.
Yeah, pretty much. And so, since Harry dislikes Snape, and both Snape and Malfoy dislike Harry, the feeling is pretty much mutual on all terms. So, Draco was given a secret mission at the beginning of the book. Snape makes a promise to Draco's mother that he will fulfill the mission if Draco fails.
At school, there's a new teacher,
Professor Slughorn.
Harry excels using the Half-Blooded Prince's potion book, in that class.
So in the potions class, Harry wasn't planning on taking it, but when he got to school, he realized that
he could take it.
He could take it because of the new teacher and stuff. He'd allow him in even with a slightly lower grade, because Harry Potter wasn't especially excelling
yeah.
in his potions class. So he starts out, he's like, okay, I don't have a book. So Horace Slughorn lends them some books that were just sitting in the cupboard. Happens to be one of those books was written in by the Half-Blood Prince, or so it is noted as written by.
So yeah, and so
all those notes help Harry excel at potions class, and he starts receiving even better grades than Hermione.
And a lot of excess attention in that class.
Exactly.
By Slughorn and obviously Hermione feels a little bit bad that Harry is excelling
she
over
even tells
her.
him, like, you need to be using your own work. You can't just be using the notes of this guy in your book. And there are also spells and stuff in the book that supposedly this Half-Blood Prince created, and so he tries them out. There's some adverse reactions and results.
Yeah, so anyway,
yeah.
Dumbledore shows Harry memories revealing Voldemort's Horcruxes, which were
the way he tried
survived.
to attain immortality. A Horcrux is when you split your soul into like two pieces and then bind one of those pieces to an object.
Voldemort made 7.
Yes. And I do want to mention real quick that this, to me at least, sounds a lot like Lord of the Rings with Sauron and the One Ring, because Sauron binds his life force, his essence, his soul to the One Ring, so that when he perishes, his soul is not destroyed. It's still bound to the ring, so he can rise to power again. I mean, very similar to this here, except Voldemort is maybe 7 times as evil. He splits his soul 7 times more. My point is that this concept, this idea of binding your life force or your essence to an object is not only shown in the Harry Potter books. It's been in other literature throughout the ages. So Harry realizes that he's going to have to, with the help of his friends and Dumbledore and others, he has to destroy all these Horcruxes before actually destroying Voldemort. Otherwise, he'll just go back to the way he was, just as just a spirit to a certain extent out there in the wasteland waiting to be able to return to his body.
Yeah, and he could do that like 7 times.
Yeah, because even if Harry destroyed 6 Horcruxes, he still had 1 piece of his soul left that he could then try to control another body with, like he did with Quirrell, or come back to life and gain his own body like he did in the end of the 4th book.
Yeah, so after that long discussion by Dumbledore about the Horcruxes, Harry becomes convinced that Draco is working for the Death Eaters, because he thinks that Draco has a dark mark on his arm. He sees him working alone, and you can't find him on the Marauders map, like which shows everyone doing their own thing.
Yeah, so he
thinks the school.
Exactly. So he thinks that Draco Malfoy really has to be up to something, and so he keeps telling Dumbledore, and Dumbledore is just putting him off. And we find out later that it is because Dumbledore already knows what Draco Malfoy was planning, and we'll get into that at the end of this.
Yeah.
The end of this book here.
Yeah. So they do more of the Horcrux stuff, and Dumbledore leaves school to go look for where the Horcruxes are. And so he thinks he knows where one is. So he asks if Harry wants to go, and obviously Harry wants to. And so they both leave school together to retrieve a fake locket from a cave.
Well, I mean, they weren't there to retrieve a fake locket, but they didn't realize it was fake at the time.
Yeah, they thought it was real.
But
yeah,
it was really a decoy left by someone with the initials R.A.B.
Yeah, so they don't. Yeah, so
it's
Dumbledore.
Kind of torturous process of getting that, and then they head back to Hogsmeade, which is the town right outside of Hogwarts, and they look toward Hogwarts
and find a dark mark in the sky.
Yeah,
over the tower of
and
Hogwarts.
That was a sign of death.
That they had
that
killed
there was
someone.
A victim beneath that was going to be killed or had been killed. So Dumbledore, of course, as headmasters,
wanted to get over there.
Yeah.
And so so when they went up the tower, because the dark mark was positioned over the tower, so
So
that
they
was
use a
obviously
broomstick to
where,
fly up
because
there.
they thought, they use a broom, and so they do that, and then there's footsteps in the hall coming up towards them. So Dumbledore petrifies Harry to the wall with his invisibility cloak over him, so he can't move at all.
Yeah.
And so then
Frozen in place.
Draco, right when Dumbledore did that, Draco disarms Dumbledore.
He runs in, disarms Dumbledore.
But cannot kill him, not physically, mentally, he just can't kill him.
He
doesn't
Draco
have enough
Malfoy
will.
has the wand there. He can speak, and Dumbledore's just kind of standing there. He's worn out because the process that they had to go through to get the locket was very extreme and had wore him out.
Yeah, and so when it looked like to Harry that Dumbledore wouldn't be killed, Snape and a bunch of other Death Eaters came up.
Rush
in. Obviously, they're fighting the guards, some of the guards down below, and Snape arrives and kills Dumbledore.
Snape shows up. He's like, okay, Draco can't do it. I'm going to fulfill my promise. And Dumbledore's like, Snape, please. And then Snape blasts
him off the tower. And so...
And Harry's like, no, he can't be dead. But then he feels the restrictions binding him cease, and he can move again, and he knows that the owner of the person that cast that magic must be dead.
The Death Eaters escape. Now they know that Snape was a Death Eater,
and seemingly now is still working for Voldemort, is what they assume.
Yeah. And so the Death Eaters leave. Harry finds out that the initials are the person with the initials RAB left a fake locket.
Yeah, because up to this point, they thought that they had gotten the real thing, the real Horcrux.
Yeah, so this whole book basically ends with Dumbledore dying.
Dumbledore's funeral is pretty much one of the last things that it talks about.
And the truth about the Horcruxes, and
becomes Harry's new mission.
Yeah. And
so he decides, okay, next year I'm not coming back to school. I'm gonna be searching for Horcruxes and intent on killing Voldemort.
Yeah, and Ron and Hermione say that they're absolutely going to go with Harry.
Dumbledore even encouraged him to take his good friends with him. So that's pretty much how the 6th book ends.
The last book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, it starts off with Harry being evacuated by the Order. And because it was before Harry's 17th birthday and the magical protection that I think that his aunt and uncle
were able to provide for him because they were related by
when he
blood.
became an adult. That 17 was when you were considered an adult in the wizarding world.
Yeah.
So they evacuate through broomsticks and flying objects, and Hedwig and
a motorcycle.
Hedwig and which is Harry's owl. He had him for years, and Mad Eye Moody, died. So
unfortunately,
so they
died
so
in that attempt. And I think it was George got his ear blasted off.
Yeah, by Snape, in fact.
Yeah.
And so Harry, Ron, and Hermione go on the run to destroy the Horcruxes. But before that, they were at the Weasley's house for the wedding of Bill
and Fleur Weasley.
Yes. And so they learn about the Deathly Hallows. And
the Deathly Hallows were 3 hollowed objects. They were renowned and kind of eventually turned into a legend.
So the Deathly Hallows are the Elder Wand, which is a very, very, very powerful wand that some people call it the unbeatable wand.
Exactly.
And then another one is the cloak, the invisibility cloak that
never faded.
Yeah, it cannot be faded, cannot be
torn
or ripped by any spell or enchantment or anything. And
which happened to be Harry's cloak.
Yeah, which happened to be exactly like Harry's cloak, and was in fact.
They later realized that wait, we have one of the Deathly Hallows.
And then the last was the Resurrection Stone, which could, in some extent, resurrect the dead or the loved ones of the holder.
The tales, though, pointed out that oftentimes those people that were resurrected did not really enjoy being resurrected and,
And
coming back to life.
Yeah, so after a while, Ron leaves after tensions build, like arguments between them, and he returns later and destroys the locket, which they actually found the real locket, which Umbridge actually
happened
had
to be hanging around
Umbridge's neck.
Umbridge's neck, yes.
So the trio infiltrates Gringotts and
Which was the Wizarding Bank.
and steals a golden
Hufflepuff cup.
Yeah, a cup. And people have said that no one has ever
been able to break into and out of successfully Gringotts. But they managed to
do it with
ride the dragon that was supposed to be guarding the treasure out of the roof.
Yeah, so Snape became headmaster.
Yeah, so back to Hogwarts.
Yeah, and Hogwarts is under Death Eater's control, which is kind of
a sister and brother actually teaching there that are Death Eaters, the Carrows.
Yeah, torturing the kids and stuff.
Yeah, the way they taught dark arts was forcing the students to use the dark arts on each other. Though some did resist, like Neville Longbottom.
And some of the other DA members.
Exactly.
So, and so Harry realizes he carries a piece of Voldemort's soul inside of him and must let Voldemort kill him. But that's like way later.
Towards the end of the book.
Yeah.
We're kind of skipping some of the details because if you do end up eventually reading these books, we don't want to spoil every single little detail because they are very detail-rich books. The trio figures out what items were turned into Horcruxes by Voldemort, and he chose items that were special to him in a certain way, and he really appreciated going to Hogwarts because he actually learned at Hogwarts. So he took some of the items from the different houses in Hogwarts, like the cup of Hufflepuff, the locket of Slytherin, and the diadem of Ravenclaw. He also turned a ring that Dumbledore actually destroyed before he died into one of his Horcruxes. Also, there was the Diary of Tom Riddle, which was Voldemort's real name, that was destroyed in Book 2.
By Harry himself.
Yeah. Then there's the snake, Nagini, who Voldemort kept very close to him toward the end when he realized that his Horcruxes were being destroyed by someone. Then the very last Horcrux was Harry himself. Somehow when Voldemort cast that spell to kill Harry and it rebounded on him, somehow he placed part of him into Harry. So then Harry became a Horcrux as well.
Because, he basically killed himself. So...
Yeah, because one of the things to create a Horcrux, you have to, kill someone in the process, I believe.
Yeah, so Harry walks into the forest, intent on self-sacrificing himself, and...
Because he had to let Voldemort kill him.
Pretty much dies, but then returns from the dead.
So Voldemort, casts the spell, and when it hits him, it's almost like Voldemort's soul was wrapped. The piece of Voldemort's soul was almost wrapped around the outside of Harry's. So when the curse hit Harry, it destroyed the Horcrux part.
So basically, Harry had 2 lives.
Yeah, pretty much.
You think about it.
Yeah, I guess he never really got that close to death any of the other times. Though he did almost die quite a few times. So Voldemort is kind of shocked when he hits Harry with that killing curse, kind of stumbles back. Harry eventually comes back, and
but Voldemort
there's battle going on, battle at Hogwarts. So
before Harry got killed or Harry got hit by the killing curse, Snape, he got killed by Voldemort because Voldemort thought that since Snape killed Dumbledore, then he was the true owner of the Elder's Wand. And
because Dumbledore had the Elder Wand. So Voldemort believed that when Snape killed Dumbledore, he then became the true owner of the Elder Wand. So Voldemort in turn killed
Snape. Yeah, so Harry, he was there listening to the whole thing and walks in, and then
once Voldemort leaves.
Yeah, once Voldemort enters another room or something, Snape wants Harry to retrieve something, to take something from Snape, and so then Snape gives him
memories.
memories of the past, and so he listens to the memories through the
Pensive.
yes, that was called, and it reveals that he was really loyal to Dumbledore.
Exactly.
And was actually not a Death Eater, working in secret for Dumbledore.
And that's why Dumbledore said, "Please, Snape," or "Please, Severus," or whatever he said at the end there before Snape killed him. That was what they had pre-planned for Snape to kill Dumbledore. Dumbledore had actually accidentally touched something that put a curse on him that would eventually kill him. So Snape was able to save Dumbledore at the time and like condense it into one hand, the curse and stuff. But Dumbledore was going to die. So to protect Draco Malfoy, he was like, "Snape, I need you to kill me. I need Draco not to do that."
Yeah, he doesn't want Draco to have
that weight and guilt.
The weight that he killed someone. So yeah, and so also the memories reveal the Elder's Wand true ownership, which was, we already talked about, Dumbledore. And so yeah, so basically the end of the book, it ends with the Battle of Hogwarts, like everyone's fighting, and Harry like steps in the room, like everyone thinks he's dead.
Cause yeah, so like Voldemort's like this triumphal procession into Hogwarts. Hagrid has been captured, and anyway, so he's half giant, so he is crying, and he has Harry on his back because he was told to bring him. And so they get in there, and everyone's like, "Oh no, Harry's dead." And then the fighting continues because they're not just gonna stop fighting now that Harry's dead.
Yeah, and so but
then Harry's like
takes off his invisibility cloak, and which I think he put on once the battles like started.
Yeah.
It's like no one would like see him, and started like and him and Voldemort started circling around each other, like trying to
and
fight.
Everyone started focusing on
them, like
battle.
Everyone stopped and like were watching them
because
fight.
I mean, this was kind of the most climatic
thing, like Harry against Voldemort, the chosen one against the Dark Wizard.
One.
So Harry was able to defeat Voldemort because the Elder's Wand true owner was actually Harry, not Voldemort.
Exactly. Because the Elder Wand, even though Voldemort tried to kill Harry with the Elder Wand refused to kill its true master. And the wand swapping and stuff, it can be confusing, but the gist of it is that Draco disarmed Dumbledore at the Astronomy Tower in the 6th book. That made Draco the rightful master of the Elder Wand, even though he never physically possessed it or touched it. Because it was then buried with
Dumbledore.
Exactly. Later, Harry disarms Draco at Malfoy Manor in the 7th book, and this transfers the wand's loyalty to Harry, both Draco's wand and the Elder Wand, even though the Elder Wand is still in Dumbledore's tomb. When Voldemort steals the Elder Wand from Dumbledore's tomb, he believes that the ownership comes from possession, but its allegiance is actually Harry's. So the killing of Snape did not
help at all.
Exactly. It was just a waste of life. And you can really see that from a lot of the villains, whether it's Voldemort or others. They have no true value to the life of those around them. Exactly.
They're a narcissist, basically.
Yeah. So in the final duel, Voldemort casts the killing curse with the Elder Wand, but the wand won't kill its true master. The curse rebounds and kills Voldemort instead. Harry wins because the wand recognizes him as its true owner, making Voldemort's own spell backfire. So that's really the climax of the book. Voldemort is defeated.
Everyone's happy and rejoicing.
Peace returns, but it is also very sorrowful because there are a lot of those that do die. We're not going to spoil it for those that haven't read the books yet, but there are some people that do die.
Including some of Harry's good friends.
Yes, because
Ron and Hermione.
War does end up with casualties. It's not a fairy tale. The epilogue closes the book out with kind of informing the readers who eventually marries who. Harry marries Ginny, Ron's sister, and Ron eventually marries Hermione. Both couples have several kids each, And the epilogue is them sending their kids on the Hogwarts Express, the train, back to Hogwarts. Well, that pretty well wraps up the series.
Yes, so now we can really dive into some of the themes that are in these books, including the witchcraft. We also plan on discussing J.K. Rowling's gender-critical stance. Let's start out with the topic of Rowling's gender-critical stance.
So first, we probably should give a definition of what gender-critical means. Gender-critical beliefs hold that biological sex is real, unchangeable, and should remain the basis for law and social policy rather than gender identity. The Bible supports most of this. In Genesis, it is clear that God created humans, male and female. Scripture never presents sex as something that can be changed, because in reality, it cannot be. The Bible makes it clear that men and women are distinct, though both are equal in Jesus and the salvation that he brought. Both men and women have equal access to God, unlike many cultures in the past who prevented women from having real access to their fake gods, who, by the way, were not gods, but probably demons. They want us, as humans, to worship anything but the one true God.
Yeah, they try to get people to love and worship their money, themselves, and everything except God. And just to be clear, in saying that men and women are equal in Christ, we are definitely not saying that their roles are the same.
Yes, and thank you for bringing that up. One of the major ways that women have erred in their role is pastoring. Women, according to the Bible, are not to teach or to be in places of authority over men. I am neither a male supremacist or a sexist. I would more lean toward the complementarian side, meaning I believe men and women are equal in value but have different God-given roles in both the home and the church. 1 Timothy 2:12 says, "But I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over a man, but to remain quiet."
Yeah, that verse is pretty clear.
Yeah, you can't really get any clearer than that. Paul, who was inspired by the Holy Spirit to write 1 Timothy, meant that women were not to preach in church. They were, of course, allowed to witness and fulfill the Great Commission, but they were not allowed to speak in church services. At least, not when any men were present. That is the men's role.
Yeah, unfortunately, this command, clear as it may be, has really beginning with the feminist movement begun to be ignored. Now, roughly 1 out of every 8 pastors in the United States is a woman.
In conclusion to that, 1 Timothy makes it clear that it is not the role of the woman to preach in the church. There's a lot more that I would love getting into, but we really should get back to the topic of Rowling's gender-critical stance.
It really started with J.K. Rowling's liking Twitter posts from gender-critical feminists, people skeptical of gender identity laws, and women raising concerns about female-only spaces.
At the time, many people weren't sure if she meant that she was gender-critical, or if it was only a coincidence that she liked the posts of a lot of gender-critical people. But this was the first public hint of her views on the matter.
Yeah, the moment that everything really went public was in December of 2019.
In response to the Maya Forstater case, a case in which Maya Forstater, a woman, lost her job after expressing her gender-critical views, Rowling tweeted support for Maya. She wrote this: "Dress however you please, but force women out of their jobs for stating sex is real?"
That tweet blew up globally. That was really the first time she openly aligned herself with gender-critical feminism. It became quite a public controversy.
Later, in June 2020, she tweeted something that made the issue explode worldwide. J.K. Rowling mocked an article that used the phrase, "people who menstruate." She wrote this in response: "I'm sure there used to be a word for those people." I mean, that probably is just one of the best responses that could be given to that phrase. I mean, when I read it, it just made me laugh. That sort of sarcasm just makes me smile, and it really fit pretty perfectly.
It was definitely interpreted as a rejecting gender-inclusive language and reinforcing biological definitions of womanhood.
Yeah, it triggered massive backlash and global media coverage. I guess that is one of the downsides and also benefits of being one of the world's most popular writers.
Also, in June 2020, after a lot of the backlash, Rowling published an essay that was over 3,000 words long explaining her position on things.
After that point, she became much more outspoken, her tone becoming more direct, more confident, and more confrontational.
She became a symbol of the gender-critical movement.
And now she is a leading gender-critical voice and a central figure in the global debate. It is now a major part of her public identity.
She has said she is willing to lose fans, reputation, and even her legacy over this issue.
She definitely seems to be serious. So, in conclusion to this dive into some of the controversial words that J.K. Rowling posted on social media, we want you to keep in mind that while she is right that biological sex is real and important, and that women's spaces need to remain safe for women, the only reason she has to stand up for these fundamental truths and rights is because of gender-affirming people who claim that gender is something that can be changed. It can't be. Dangerous surgeries with dangerous outcomes, chemicals pumped into the wrong bodies, and claiming to be the opposite gender than what you truly are does not make it true. It does not change your sex.
You are what God created you to be, either a man or a woman. You can't change that. You can change your appearance and show your defiance of the creation order, but you can never truly change your sex.
Exactly. Well, now that we have made that clear, let's move on to our next big topic. The themes of witchcraft and wizardry in the Harry Potter books.
I guess this is what everyone has been waiting for. Well, let's dive in.
The first thing that I want to make clear is that witchcraft is a real thing. Besides countless accounts of witchcraft that quote-unquote works, the main deciding factor for me is the Bible. It treats witchcraft as real. Witchcraft is not imaginary, it is real. And real witchcraft involves spiritual practices. Real spiritual power can be found, but it will not last. Witchcraft, at its root, is the act of seeking and pursuing spiritual powers from demons.
Witchcraft is not just the act of worshiping demons like countless people, groups, and nations have done. It is specifically, like you said, the act of pursuing that power from the demons. And unfortunately, the way witches and wizards pursue that power is the same way that those on the path to becoming a werewolf pursue their demonic shape-shifting abilities.
Just to be clear, the witch's Sabbath and other witch interactions with the devil or demons are not mentioned explicitly in the Bible, though those witchcraft activities were described by Christians as early as the 2nd century. Some of the more well-known Christian writers who taught that magic is cooperation with demons include Augustine, Tertullian, and Lactantius. So, although the Bible itself doesn't explicitly say that witches give themselves over to the devil or other demons, early Christian writers did connect witchcraft with the giving of oneself over to the demons.
One point that the Bible is clear about is that witchcraft is evil. The practice of witchcraft is constantly tied to idolatry, divination, and spiritism.
It is sin. Witchcraft is sin. No wonder that it fits so perfectly alongside some of those other sins. Biblical witchcraft involves the invoking of spirits, the seeking of supernatural powers apart from God, and the using of potions or substances for occult purposes.
It can also include the performing of rituals or spells and the attempting of manipulation of spiritual forces. None of these things are good. In fact, they are all sin.
So, in summary of this brief introduction to witchcraft, witchcraft is sin. It is wrong. That is important to understand before we get into talking about witchcraft in Harry Potter.
Well, now that you know that witchcraft is evil and is sin, let's dive into the controversy about the witchcraft elements in Harry Potter.
Starting off, for those that have not read Harry Potter, I want to explain that the books are based in a world, our world in fact, except that it has an extensive behind-the-scenes wizarding world that normal people, or muggles as Rowling calls them, do not know about. Harry, in the first book, like we mentioned in our previous episode, finds out he is a wizard. He is introduced into the world of witchcraft and wizardry at the age of 11, and it changes his life. And pretty much from that time forward, all of Harry and his friends' adventures are surrounded by magic. So much so that it is portrayed as normal and acceptable. There are even those in the books that despise muggles for their lack of magic. My point is that the entire book series is definitely somewhat witchcraftian, meaning relating to witchcraft, having the qualities or themes of witchcraft.
Now let's look at both sides of the argument about witchcraft in Harry Potter. The first view that we will look at is the view that is for the books, meaning the side claiming that the Harry Potter books are only a harmless fantasy. They claim that the magic in Harry Potter is not real occult practices.
They claim that the spells used in the books do not correspond to real witchcraft rituals, invocations, or occult systems. They also point out that there are positive moral themes within the books, including courage, sacrifice, friendship, resisting evil, and love.
They also claim that the witchcraft in Harry Potter is different than in the Bible. Harry and his friends aren't calling on demons to give them power. They have them ingrained in them, more like superpowers.
You have to be careful though, because even if J.K. Rowling portrayed witchcraft in her books as superpowers, in real life that power comes from demons. It could make people wrongly assume that witchcraft in the real world is not something evil. They might pursue it and eventually get involved in the occult or Wicca, the official and recognized modern religion of witchcraft.
People have to be careful what they normalize and make seem harmless. People's words can have a very far-reaching impact.
Exactly.
Now let's look at the other side of the argument of people who are against the Harry Potter books. They often start off by pointing out that witchcraft is real and is not make-believe. They point out that some of the spells in the books resemble Latin occult words.
Those that are opposed to Harry Potter also often bring up the concern that fantasy magic could spark curiosity about real-world occult practices. Others argue that the books blur moral lines with all the lying, rule-breaking, and rebellion found in the books.
Christian tradition has long condemned sorcery, so any positive portrayal is seen as spiritually dangerous.
To sum up the two arguments, the critics claim that witchcraft is real and spiritually dangerous. They also say that any positive portrayal risks normalizing it.
Supporters argue that Harry Potter's magic is fictional and unrelated to real witchcraft.
That kind of sums up the two views pretty succinctly. Well, before we begin to wrap up and move on to our conclusion, is there anything you would like to mention to our listeners?
Well, I would like to thank them for sticking with us through the many times we side-trailed into other topics.
Yeah, we did kind of go off topic quite a bit. I do want to ask you, though, listener, to please like this show, leave a review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Doing that will hopefully help more people find our show. We would really appreciate it.
Yes, it would really mean a lot to us. Now we can begin wrapping up, moving on to the conclusion and the outro.
Well, as we begin wrapping this up, I think that there are some key points that would be profitable to take away. One, as we discussed last time, children are a blessing from God, and it is good to have a large family like the Weasleys, though, of course, it would be better still for all of those children to be raised in a Christian household and not one that is engaged in witchcraft.
A second point that you should take away, which we also talked about in the last episode, is that being a werewolf is not a good thing. To put it simply, becoming or trying to become an animal is a rejection of the fact that you are created in the image of God. It is an extremely dangerous place to be if you are in rejection of God and His order of all things.
The third point is that it is good to speak up for the truth. I do not agree with J.K. Rowling in many areas, but I do appreciate that she does at least have a gender-critical view and is not afraid to let everyone know about it.
The fourth and final point that you should take away with you is that witchcraft is evil.
This is how the Bible portrays it, and this is how we need to look at it as well.
Magic, or witchcraft, is dangerous. It's demonic.
With those main points listed, let's move into the outro and our conclusion on the Harry Potter book series. The 7 Harry Potter books have caused a lot of debate about whether or not they should be read due to their witchcraftian themes. We need to be careful of what we let our children read, watch, and play. They are often more likely to be influenced than a critically thinking adult, but even adults can be influenced in wrong ways. Unfortunately, there have been many people, both children and adults, who claim that after reading Harry Potter with its positive view on witchcraft, to have been drawn into real witchcraft. With this being said, I do believe that there can be good themes that the Harry Potter books can teach us. But ask yourself the question, is it worth reading? Is it worth letting my child read? Because there is a chance, a slim chance perhaps, but a chance nonetheless, that you or your child could be drawn into the demonic realm of witchcraft. If you decide to read them, or to let your child read them, that is your prerogative. You obviously know yourself or your child better than we could. I would encourage you, though, If you are going to let your child read the Harry Potter book series, to at least read them yourself before allowing your child to read them. That way you will know 100% of what your child will be getting into. You will also be able to discuss the witchcraftian themes within them with a first-hand knowledge. Remember to stay grounded in truth. Remember to think critically. Dive deeply.
Think carefully.
And Lord willing, we will see you next month. Unless otherwise noted, all scripture quotations taken from the NASB, New American Standard Bible, copyright 1971, 1995, 2020, by the Lockman Foundation. Used by permission. All rights reserved.